as Andy said, I work at the Alaska Fisheries Science Center, and I'm in the Groundfish Assessment Program, and we do summer surveys off of Alaska. And in the summer of 2014, we did our first trial attempt at collecting length data using an Android tablet, and we quickly ran into difficulties. And by that, I mean we had one of two things happen. If we got too much rain or salt spray or fish slime on the tablet screens, then the tablets became inoperable. They either behaved very erratically, jumping around, acting like you touched a button when you hadn't, shutting down the application, bringing other applications up, or the other extreme we would have would be that this screen would just become frozen and not responsive at all. And so that summer of 2014, I started researching this problem, trying to figure out what was going on and what we could do about it. And over the course of that summer, I discovered there were other groups who were also deploying touchscreen capacitance, touchscreen tablets in the marine environment. And that first summer, back in 2014, I found about 4 different groups, and I talked to people individually and kind of formed this group, and by the end of the summer, it just became much more efficient, and there was deemed enough interest that we started to meet on a regular basis, and we have been meeting since August of 2014 every other month, and the list now includes more people, had more people join, more institutions, but so I have a list here on this screen showing the different groups who now are on the email list, and it's several of our fisheries centers, but we also have a couple state Department of Fish and Wildlife groups on the West Coast, the International Pacific Halibut Commission, the East Coast Commercial Fisheries Research Foundation out of Rhode Island, and the Archipelago Marine Research Group is out of Canada. So it's a very diverse group. We're all using different operating systems, some Android, some Windows, some iOS, and lots of different tablets. It's a great group to touch base with if you want to ask questions, pick their brains. There's a lot of experience here in this group. If you're interested in being on the email list to attend meetings, let me know. I can get your email address and put it onto the list so you are notified of our meetings. Or if there's anybody you want to talk to at any of these centers, then also if you contact me, I can put you in touch with the appropriate person. But this group has been very useful. We still meet. We just had our last meeting yesterday, and it's been very useful to us because, as I said, we ran into problems right away. But going back to that summer of 2014 when I started to form this touchscreen group, there were 2 groups here, two institutions who were deploying tablets very successfully. That was the Northeast Observer Program and the Commercial Fisheries Research Foundation out of Rhode Island. They're really happy with their applications that they were putting out that year, 2014. But 2 of the other groups that I discovered, that were also experimenting with tablets, the Pacific Halibut Commission and then the Southeast Center Shark Longline Observer Program, were having the same kinds of issues that we were having with the touchscreen. So what we've found in my group here at the Alaska Fisheries Science Center, our current thinking right now is we glean from our own experience and then this working with these people in this touchscreen group and hearing their experiences and having them describe how they're doing things, what their work environment is like. We don't think at this point that there's a magic tablet out there, and we don't think there's a magic operating system out there. We think what makes a big difference about whether your tablets are going to work for you by touching the screen directly, as you would hope to do. What allows that to work for some groups and not for others is the volume of data that you're having to enter, the pace of your work, and also if you are in a really exposed, wet environment. If you have the option to come inside and do some of your work inside, that can help a whole lot. If you have a low volume of data that you need to enter in, you can take the time to wipe your screens clean or use a squeegee and clean them off. And in my group, that was not acceptable. We could not have any kind of slowdown because the Alaska surveys that we do, the bottom trawl surveys, we get a lot of fish that come up, and we have a pretty fast pace of work. So I was told I had to come up with some kind of a solution. So what I'm going to do for the rest of the presentation is to show you some successful Android applications that are being used out on boats. And these first three are going to be from other centers, and they are examples where the tablet is working basically as is. The user can touch the screen. And then I'll finish up by showing you what we've done in my group where we've had to take a very different route to make the tablets work for us. So the first example I wanted to show you was this one from the Northwest Fisheries Science Center. Pete Lawson down in Oregon had a pilot project last summer that worked really well. He was very pleased with the results. He demoed it at our October Touchscreen teleconference, and this is what he told us, was that they used an inexpensive consumer-grade tablet, a Samsung Galaxy Tab 4. These are less than $200. And he put them into OtterBoxes. Again, a pretty inexpensive solution to try to ruggedize the tablets. Now, consumer touchscreen tablets are pretty fragile. So Pete was concerned with trying to have something that would be robust enough to use on the back decks of fishing vessels. And he was very pleased. They stood up well to the environment, and they only lost one. And that was one that fell in the scupper. So one thing you need to know is OtterBoxes ruggedize a tablet, but they don't waterproof it. So when this one was submerged, then water infiltrated through the openings, and that tablet was toast. Otherwise, the tablets all worked really well. What they did was they made a custom Android application that allowed fishermen to mark important trip events, such as start of trip, end of trip, gear in the water, gear out of the water. They capture the GPS coordinates of each of those events along with the timestamp. And then when the fish were brought up, the fishermen could enter into the same application the pertinent biological information. When they would get back to the dock, they make a connection to the internet and upload the data to the center's database. This application, Pete was very pleased with how it worked for the fishermen. It was very intuitive, easy for the fishermen to use. The setup on these boats, these are small boats, oftentimes with a single fisherman, so he needed something pretty simple for the fishermen to use. And by all accounts, Pete thought this was a very successful deployment of tablets. And the question I asked was, how much fish are the fishermen encountering? And he's told us that basically a good trip would be about 60 fish. So in comparison to the volume of fish that we have to interact with and enter data on in the Alaska survey groups, that's a very low volume. So I'm going to keep hitting that point because we think that's critical in my group. The next one is the CFRF. This is the commercial group out of Rhode Island. This was the first group that I actually encountered the summer of 2014 when I was looking for answers to our problems. They were very happy with the application that they built a custom Android application, and they put it onto Nexus 10-inch tablets. These are a consumer-grade tablet, and they were very happy with the results right from the very beginning. Here's another picture looking at the application. You can see the application a little bit better in this picture. Again, this application, a custom application, allowed the lobstermen to enter important trip events along with the GPS stamps, and then when it gets the pot, bring the pot up, mark that event, then they process the lobsters and they put the pertinent biological information into the application. And they were very happy with this. Again, one of my questions was trying to get an understanding of what that work environment was like. I was told that they had a regulation to process 60 pots per month. So again, that's on the low end of data volume. But they're very fortunate, and they really like how the tablets perform for them. The thing to note here is that they were not concerned with ruggedizing the tablets. They were more concerned with waterproofing. So they put the tablets into plastic bags. And so that's what you see. You see the person operating, touching the screen actually through the plastic bag there. And the third group that I want to show you was the Northeast Fisheries Science Center Observer Program. Again, this is another group I stumbled onto in the summer of 2014. They were deploying Android Panasonic tablets to their observers, and they were very happy with their results right from the beginning. This picture shows a screen for vessel trip information. So this isn't really biological information. They're not back there with messy fish, but it does show a very successful use of the Android tablet on a boat. Yesterday, actually, in our meeting, they were mentioning at the Northeast Center that they are actually working with a new tablet now. They're going with a Samsung Active Tab, I believe is the one they're going with now. They're just starting to experiment with it. One thing I wanted to point out here was these Panasonic tablets that they started off with. Those are ruggedized, so those are much more expensive. They're not a consumer-grade tablet. They are a rugged field tablet. And so the rugged field tablets, you're talking, instead of $400 or less per tablet, you're usually talking $1,500 to $2,000, and some of them can go even higher. So a big difference in price. One thing they were saying yesterday, even though, was that the observers, they might be on the dock, they might be on the back deck entering some of this information. If it's raining hard, then they tell them, oh, wipe the screen clean, or maybe go inside the boat and finish entering the data. So here's an example where they have the option to go into a more protected environment if they need to. That's not what works for us, but I'll get to that in a second about how we've overcome that and can still use the tablets in our situation. But I was going to say that another piece of information that I used to kind of, well, I made a statement earlier where I said I don't think there's a magic tablet or magic operating system. I did go out last year with Washington State. They do a herring survey here in the Puget Sound, and I went out with them, and I entered all the data into their iPad, so that's an iOS, not Android, and I did all the data entry. It's a really nice system that they have, really slick operation, and we had really nice weather. But the person I went out with, he goes out and does the surveys all the time, and he said that when it's raining hard, then the screens will become inoperative. They take towels or squeegees and wipe the screen clean. They can resume working on the tablet. They might have to hunch over the tablet to kind of protect it from rain if it's really raining hard. But it doesn't slow them down because their data volume is low enough that that's an acceptable solution. So these are some examples of people using tablets in the marine environment successfully by touching the screen directly. So now I'm going to move on to talking about what we're doing in my group, in the Groundfish Survey Group at the Alaska Fisheries Science Center. A little history. We started looking into using tablets back in 2013, and by the end of the year, November, December, we got permission to purchase two 7-inch Android tablets. And then January, February, the next of 2014, we got some money to buy some Android programming books. And fortunately, the Android Studio IDE, the Integrated Development Environment, was free. And that's what we used to start building our first application. The first application we built was a lengthening application. And the reason for that was in 2013, all of our back deck data was collected on paper forms except for one piece of data, and that was our length data. We used this device called a polycorder, which were no longer being manufactured. They're falling into disrepair, and management was very concerned with finding a replacement. In addition, they had long cherished the dream to collect other data, our back deck surveys, the biological information electronically. And so they really ultimately wanted to have an electronic back deck system. So this was our starting point to research that and start to work on a back deck system, and we thought we decided we wanted to try and use these Android tablets, and several reasons. We picked the Nexus 7s because in 2013 they were getting a lot of good reviews as being robust, well-built tablets, and they were not expensive. And we don't have a really big budget to devote to development in my survey group. So the price was really great. They're also, the mobility of these devices is really nice for us because we have to ship all of our equipment up to Alaska, set up the survey boats. We contract out commercial vessels, so we have to set everything up, and then at the end of the survey, we have to take everything down, pack it up, and ship it back to Seattle. and we can't leave anything on the boats. So mobility is a real plus. And then in addition, the way our workflow is, we have so much fish that come up on our surveys that we have a small back deck on these commercial boats, and we have to reconfigure certain areas on the back deck for different functions as we process a single haul. So mobility of our collection devices is also a real help in the workflow and logistics of processing our data. So those are the reasons why we started to look at the Android tablet. And as I said at the beginning of this talk, in the summer 2014, when we did our first trial attempt out at sea with our lengthening application, we ran into problems. So in the intervening years, we've worked on some solutions. And what we've come up with, last year we went into full production using Android tablets to collect our lengthening data. So we don't have the polycorders anymore. We collect everything with these Android tablets. We've gone very much a Bluetooth peripheral route. And we try to implement as much as possible a design concept that we call heads-up, hands-free. And so here's a picture of the lengthening station on one of our boats last summer. And what you're looking at is there's a Pelican case here mounted on our length board. This long black board is the length board. This yellow and black case is the Pelican case. It both waterproofs and ruggedizes our tablets. We want to try and do both. And inside the case, the Pelican case, is the Android tablet. And we have our custom-made in-house, we program it ourselves, lengthening application. The board itself, running down the center of it, is a centimeter barcode strip that we use to actually make the measurements of the fish. And then there's a small little menu of special barcodes that allows us to navigate through the application without ever touching the tablet screen itself. So this special little barcode menu is a proxy for touch. The way in which we do that is through this Bluetooth barcode wand that the data collector is holding in his hand here, and then he's wearing a set of Bluetooth headset. And we've programmed audio so that the data collector doesn't have to be peering at the screen to see what's going on. They get audio feedback of what has just been entered or whatever the process is that they've just completed. And I'm going to go through each component in a little more detail. The first one is this Bluetooth barcode wand. We actually build these in-house, and when I've given similar talks in the past, I often have people who are interested in more details of how this is made. So I'd like to point out that Bob Loth and Gordon Alford are the people who are responsible for coming up with this. And what we do is we buy barcode wands that are wired, and then we convert them to wireless by attaching a Bluetooth adapter under it's that square piece you see at the head of this device. We waterproof it, put some buttons to turn on and off, and that's what we're using for, that's how we make a wireless Bluetooth barcode wand. The headset, in the picture you saw, was a Kenevo brand headset. They're very inexpensive. They work really well. We are experimenting with lots of different headsets, but this is the one you saw in the picture. This is a detail of a portion of that length strip. So this portion down below is the centimeter barcode. So if you had a fish that was 40 centimeters, you'd swipe with the barcode wand, 40, and that's the value that would go into the length field. Then the special menu for navigation and interacting with the application is up above, and you can do things like change the hull, change the species, change sex, get a report to come up, you can delete records. If you want to verify what the application thinks the species and sex is, you can swipe the identify, and you'll get audio feedback as to what the settings are on the application. So again, you don't have to peer through the case at the application. And I want to just show, just briefly, a portion of this in action. It's very dynamic, and I think the video might be more kind of illustrate better what's going on here. I hit my button. So let me just, I don't want to take too much time on this. I just show you a couple more things. So here's the tablet. You can see all the links that have been entered in. And you can see some more coming in. 25. So that just shows you it's pretty fast. You can delete records. So anyway, enough. I think you kind of get the picture of how dynamic it can be and how the tablet interacts with these special barcodes. Here's a picture of the Nexus 7 tablet that we have our Lynx application. This is the front screen of it. You're seeing inside the Pelican case. That's what it looks like. And I mentioned that we don't have lots of money for our development costs, so I do like to show people how much this costs to outfit one Lincoln station, from the tablet to the Pelican case, to the actual barcode wand that we then, all these components underneath the wand are what we use to convert it to a wireless Bluetooth wand. And then that Bluetooth headset, we can make a Lincoln station for about $350 to $400. Last summer we tested our prototype specimen station. Basically that's mostly, primarily that's what Odalus. And here's an overhead shot of the station. We prototyped it or beta tested it last summer. And to get specimen data, we have some similar reuse of materials from the Lynx. We do have a barcode length strip you can see here. You can see the person's wearing a Bluetooth headset. It's not the Kenevo, but another brand that we have experimented with. Special navigation barcode menus so that you don't have to touch the screen. And then for Odalus, we also collect weights. So here's a small Morel scale, and the Morel scale readout is up here. To enter the scale weights, we have a Bluetooth Bluetooth number pad. We couldn't find Bluetooth number pad that was waterproof, so we had to rig up waterproofing in-house. So all the data can be entered for specimen data using these Bluetooth peripherals. But we also do want to touch the tablet. So we've been working for a couple of years with the concept of a soft top box. And I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail here. But you can see the box over here. The tablet's just to the side of the Morel scale. And it's in one of our custom in-house built soft top boxes. And so here's a picture, a little better picture. You can see the box better. So it's a Plano box, and I've got the specimen tablet inside on the first page of the application. It's a nice ruggedized case. It protects the tablet, and it's waterproof until we cut a big opening here. But that allows us to put a flexible plastic sheet in there. Then we seal it back up so it's waterproof. And this allows us, once you close it, you can then depress the plastic and touch through the plastic the portion of the application that you want to activate. The rest of the plastic does not touch the tablet itself. So the critical thing is to have an air pocket between the tablet surface and that plastic film on the lid, so you can get as much gunk on top of that plastic film on the lid. You can get all kinds of spray, rain, you can get fish slime. Some people in our group talk about in their fish processing that they have a lot of blood from the fish. And so that's also has capacitance and can trigger the tablet to respond inappropriately. And so what I'm trying to show here in this picture is that I can depress the plastic in a specific controlled area. That's the soft top box allows us to do. And then we don't have to worry about all those capacitance fluids giving extraneous messages to the tablet to be active. Here, so up until last fall, we've been making our soft top boxes in-house, and they're a real pain. Nobody likes working on them, and they're tricky. I know it's not impressive technologically, but they have proven to be a huge challenge because you got to get the tablet up high enough, but not too high. You only want the plastic touching when you depress it. Once you go to some of the bigger tablets and you have a bigger surface area, the plastic doesn't have a lot of structure. Keeping that air pocket between the plastic and the tablet, it's tough. And we now have found some some cases we can purchase that have this soft top concept, and so we're kind of thrilled by that. And the one I'm showing here is a Pyle Sport. It will ruggedize the case, and it's waterproofing it, and the plastic's already there, and all we have to do is get the tablet in the case at the right height. We don't want it down too deep because then you have to stretch the plastic too much. So we kind of build up layers of foam and get it at the right height. And so what I'm showing here in this picture is the picture on the left is the application. Nothing's active on it yet. And then when I depress the plastic on the right-hand side, my finger is depressing the plastic. Oops, there it is again. Is depressing the plastic, and the capacitance of my finger is being transmitted to the surface of the tablet, and it's altering the capacitance field of the tablet, and that's the way it should be. And the tablet now knows that it's been touched, and it knows where it's been touched, and now it's going to activate that button. So, and the tablet you're looking at here in this picture is our Samsung 9.7-inch tablet, and that's our newest application we're working on right now. We'll deploy it this summer. It's our Catch application. Here's a smaller case. It's for 8-inch Samsung Galaxy S2 tablets, and this is a silicone interface. We've experimented with our own in-house boxes with acetate and vinyl, but this particular box case that we're purchasing has silicone in there, and so far in our in-house test it's working well. 2 years ago we deployed in production our crab application. We have people from the Kodiak lab who come out on our Bering Sea shelf surveys and our Bering Sea slope surveys, and they do crab survey work alongside the groundfish survey. They opted for an expensive ruggedized tablet, and you can see the user here, the data collector, is dealing with it directly. So I did want to show that we sometimes have conditions such that we can actually touch the touch screens the way you'd want to. You'd notice that it's not raining, it's pretty mild weather, as evidenced by what she's wearing, and there are only a few crabs, so ideal conditions, and we too sometimes luck out and get to touch the screen directly. Here's a picture of the tablet, a little clearer picture of the tablet with the crab application that we built in-house. They've been collecting their production data for crab for 2 years now using this Logic Instruments ruggedized 10-inch field book and this crab application that we built. We also outfitted their Mitutoyo calipers with the Silex Bluetooth adapter, so all of their caliper measurements can go in wirelessly into the application. Sometimes the weather does not permit them to do the direct touching of the tablet, so we built a soft top box for the Logic Instrument tablet to go into. They opted for an overhead mount, and they can use a stylus to push down to the plastic, or they can use their gloved hand. And then their work area is down below. This little table down here will be where all the crab is. And this is their setup for when the conditions are adverse. What we're working on right now, and that will be beta testing this summer, is our Catch application. And this picture here is an example of well, let me set the stage. So the net comes up, and we dump the net on the back deck, and we sort everything by species. And then the big baskets are hauled over to our large Morrell scale. So this is the Morrell scale right here. And the deck lead is standing here with a paper form and is writing down the species. In this case, it's northern rock sole, the weight, 42.06, and table. And that means, if we say table, that means that basket's going to be kept for further processing. Sometimes baskets are tossed. We get too much fish, and we don't actually process every fish that comes up. And you can see that there's baskets everywhere, and it's a real tight area, especially initially as we're beginning to process the haul. Space is at a premium, and there's no place to put peripherals. So what we're going to be doing on this application is using the soft top case, and we are working with a voice company to voice enable data entry. And so we'll be testing that this summer. And these are some of the components. So what we have over here is a Blue Tiger headset that we actually beta tested this last summer, and we were using our small Samsung tablet over here, and we had our specimen application. We had voice enabled it through to an earlier contract, and we tested that on one of our boats. And these Blue Tiger headsets, they work really, really well at filtering out background noise. The boat we were on, the Cape Flattery, is very, very noisy, and the boom microphone here did an excellent job at filtering out extraneous background noise. These are the two cases I was showing you earlier. The smaller one will be for Specimen, the voice app for Specimen, and then this larger case will be for our Catch application. The final application I just want to show, this is the final slide. So I've shown you Android tablet applications that we developed at AFSC for groundfish and our crab surveys. I also showed you at the beginning some successful Android applications from other groups that are part of this touchscreen teleconference group. We began deploying in my group production applications in 2015. That was our crab application. 2016, we went to full production for our length data. And our Specimen beta test we did last summer, it was well received, and we're going to put that into full production for this coming summer, 2017. And we are continuing to work on voice-enabling data entry for our applications. This has been a real team effort. You can see that we've been working on it for a few years. We have lots of people who are working, as I said, like a team and making this all happen. If you want more information, I have 4 email addresses of people you might want to contact. Bob Loft is the Bering Sea Bottom Trawl Survey Manager. Jerry Hoff is a biologist who's working with us very closely on this project. And then the 2 programmers are Heather Kenny and myself. And if you have any questions, that's all I have to show you right now. Wow, very, very cool. Oh, thanks.
Yes, thank you very much, Allison. As I said, I've seen this before, and I was eager to show it to all of you here with the group. Some of the lessons are definitely applicable to fisheries-dependent data, even though a lot of it was developed in the fisheries-independent world. But, I mean, there's just so much innovation that was done for very cheap, frankly. So.
Yeah. This is Karen. Can I ask a question? How you, is there anything special or issues or that arose in getting the data off? Is the data stored on the device, and how you get it in? That's a good question. Yes. So we have the tablets have a little SQL. They come with a little SQLite database on there. And so as people are working and collecting data, the way we have it right now is the data goes into that database, and then in the application we have programmed the ability to see reports and then also to extract the data out. And what we have right now, so we don't have a big budget, we don't have a big staff, so we're doing things in very incremental fashion. And so down the road, we have it planned that we will have a 2-way wireless network, and then the users won't have to pull physical files off. But what we do right now is we pull the files off, and so we also have our old production system. We have to keep it running because we don't have our full back deck system in place. So some of this you're seeing is kind of awkward, where we're still on the old system a little bit and trying to bring in new pieces and keep everything running. So we have to pull the files off for our length and our specimen data, which is what we have so far, and then load them into the old system where people hand entered the paper forms. And so that's inside the boat, and so we've done that process so they can pull files off and load them into that system, and then it goes into, our regular production system can then handle things as it normally has. What we are envisioning, and we're hoping to get this started actually this fall, is building a 2-way communication. We have an Oracle XE database up in the wheelhouse, and we want to actually be able to send the data back and forth, because we want. Right now, all these tablets are working sort of isolated from each other. Not sort of, they are working isolated from each other. So they don't get to benefit from what the other person's doing. And we'll be able to get much more data quality checking going on once we get this interconnected wireless networking going. So that's definitely what we're striving for. We just aren't there yet. And then the data, if you really want to know like how the data then gets to our center's database, so that kind of gets into this whole issue of security of the tablets, and I'm not really qualified to talk about security. But what we do, because I know it's an issue, and we work with our OFIS division at our center very closely. They know what we're doing. We work on an intranet concept on our surveys. And when any data is going to go from our boat to our center, we send it via the SFTP way. So that's how we're complying with the security regulations. And but our tablets are they're not transmitting. We don't connect to the internet with our tablets. We never plan to. But if you saw some of the earlier things I was sharing you, some people are doing that, like the Northeast Observer Program. Those observers are connected to the internet and sending their data to the Northeast Center. Pete Lawson's project from the Northwest Center last summer, the fishermen make a connection via the internet, send the data to the Northwest Center via the internet. So it can be done. We don't really have that need, and it's a little simpler for us in terms of security to just be collecting our data sort of on an intranet of the boat. And then when we do want to feed the data back to Seattle, we do it through SFTP. Very cool.
I had a question. With your group, was anyone using X tablets?
No, you know what? What operating system is that? Do you have more details on X tablets?
Yeah, the Windows operating system.
Oh, Windows.
Yeah,
no,
they do have Android capability as well.
Yeah, I don't know the X tablet. I will write it down so I can Google it. So yeah, there are a couple people in the touchscreen group who are using Windows. Northwest Fisheries Science Center, I don't know if Todd Hay is on, but Andy could probably tell you more about it, but recently, like a month or so ago, I think Todd and his group came over and demoed a Windows-based application that they're working on for observers, I believe. And then there's Don Pearson out of the Southwest Center who's working with Windows. And then there's also the Halbert Commission who has worked on the Windows in the past. I'm not quite sure. I'm not up to date on exactly where they stand on what they're doing. The latest information I have from the Halbert Commission is that they're working somehow with the Archipelago Group out of Canada, and I just don't have the latest and greatest on what they're doing. I had hoped to for this meeting, but I don't have an update on them. But theirs is all Windows, I believe. So we're doing Android, so it's not so much a focus for me. That's a little bit that I know. If you want, I can get you the contact information for those people if you want to talk to them directly.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions for Allison? Okay, well, thanks so much, Allison.